skins. It is the great foundation of everything related to monetization around League of Legends. Sometimes they are good, sometimes they are questionable, and sometimes they start a bit of a ruckus in the community for some funny reasons. At this point we can say that without them we would skip out on some really funny dramas. And trust me, when a drama is happening around a skin, it is a funny one. Though today we will talk about something slightly more serious. It is an issue that was brought up to the daylight only a few days ago with the new wave of skins in the Porcelain skin line, which you may remember already arrived with some hiccups the last time we saw it. So yes, first of all, everyone should know that this skin line is not new. We've seen it before, and just like before, it still looks good. Now overall, it is also no secret that this is obviously based on the Chinese aesthetics. And that's simply because around this time it is the Chinese Lunar New Year. This is why, for some people, around this time of year, the skins always feel a bit disconnected. That's because they are mostly aimed towards the Eastern audience. I mean, as a fun fact, for which I couldn't actually find a confirmation, apparently the Mythmaker Irelia was the most sold skin ever for China. So yes, making skins with these kinds of aesthetics definitely works for Riot. But now you may be wondering, well, where is the drama surrounding this? Well, as always, in order to find out about it, we have to go to that one place we all love, Reddit. Which now forced an update on me again and everything looks weird. Anyway, let's dive right into it. Porcelain Ezreal is a shameless cash grab and Lysandra should have gotten the legendary. Oh wait, that was 2 years ago. No. The first issue, somehow, believe it or not, is actually not related to monetization. No, the first issue that popped up is the fact that we are getting a skin line with Chinese aesthetics in a patch after we got a skin line with Chinese aesthetics. That's right! The Heaven Scales just dropped and we are getting Porcelains right after that. So immediately, some people got triggered by this. Now to be fair, if you ask me, I don't think it's that much of a big deal here. The Porcelain skins look separate enough for them to really feel like two separate skin lines. If you wanna compare Mythmakers and the Divine Beasts and the Divine Blades, sure, go for it. But Porcelains are definitely unique. I mean, for context, let's have a look at the skins we got. First of all, there is the legendary skin for Aurelian Soul. That's right, one of the not the most popular champions got a legendary skin. See, this is why no one complained about monetization this time. Because a champion who deserves it actually got it. And yes, the visual effects are stellar. They are using a lot of new assets for the spells. And yes, they even included some memes in there. I have no complaints about this one. Now, this was followed with Porcelain Irelia, which does look slightly odd. She does have those long blades instead of her normal daggers, which are supposed to be porcelain. How does that work? But overall, her abilities do look good. Then there is Morgana, who once again looks awesome, albeit slightly too simple. Her abilities are very down to earth, which also means, thankfully, they are readable. And then there is Misfortune, who somehow made it into the skin line too. Nothing fits the theme of fragile porcelain like guns, but at least the visuals fit well too. And speaking of guns, nothing fits the theme of fragile porcelain like shotguns. That's right, Graves also got a skin with the same theme. Although again, the spells do kinda look good. I especially love the Q, which here feels like a proper spell. Even though again, it's supposed to be porcelain, I don't really know what's happening here. This has nothing to do with pottery. And lastly, if you are really done with making teacups, there is one thing that may really solve all of your issues. An axe. Because yes, Darius arrived too. I know I'm repeating myself, but despite how odd this looks, the visuals are pretty cool. I am even a fan of his armor. It's just that everything around this doesn't quite fit. And this is the first issue that was brought up. People had never seen a skin line with more random choices. Usually, Riot at least tries to brute force a thematic into a skin so it makes sense. Here, I have no idea what's going on. Now I'm sure the lore descriptions of the skins will give us some explanation, like how they are shoving spirits into the pottery and that's making them shoot out more spiritual goo. But if you really break it down to the basic idea of making awesome porcelain teacups, 2 guns and an axe is not really what I had in mind. And to be fair, even in the first iteration of Porcelain, we did get stuff like Kindred, Ezreal, and Lissandra. But Lissandra fits the fragile thematic with the crystals. Kindred fits the mythical depictions on the teacups, similar to Aurelian here. And Ezreal fits the fact that Riot needs to make money. But this time around, besides Aurelian, people don't feel like anyone really fits. And out of all of these, everyone got annoyed by Irelia especially. Irelia tried not to have a skin with Chinese thematic, challenge impossible. Yeah, I will admit, this is a very common theme around Irelia, isn't it? But again, if the rumors are true, if Mythmaker Irelia was really the most sold skin in China, I know where this is coming from. That still doesn't help Irelia's skin diversity though. But Irelia was also caught in the crossfire for a totally different reason. See, in-game, the skin looks okay. But when it comes to her splash art, that does not look like Irelia. And Reddit got flooded with this opinion. And I understand where this is coming from. See, if you look at this piece of art on its own, it looks great. But it doesn't necessarily look like Irelia. And League of Memes had a lot of fun with that one. Come on, man. You see, honestly, this is nothing unusual. League has had the same face syndrome for many years now. And this issue gets brought up at least twice a year. With the main point being that pretty much every female champion and Ezreal has the same face. Now this on its own is a nightmare for any designer. But things get worse when every skin remodels that face. And now, with the faces of the champions, with the faces of all of their skins, you can play a game of guess who that champion actually is. If you ask me, not every skin has to have the same face as the original character. There are some skin lines which are transformative when it comes to the original champion. Think something like the Project skin line transforming their faces with high-end tech. Under those circumstances, it would make sense, same as turning a champion into a totally different being. But if you decide to release a skin for a human champion, where in that skin line they are still human, there is absolutely no reason to change their face, and all you are doing is confusing people. Which is exactly what happened here. And that's why so many people have issues with this. Now, my issue with Irelia is that when I first saw her, I thought that was the lamp. I thought they decided to reveal her face again. Because yes, this was an issue Kindred had last time. Porcelain Kindred was just the lamb without being the lamb. I mean, when they did it with Spirit Blossom Kindred, things already were dicey. But Porcelain really just threw it off the cliff. And when I saw Irelia, I saw that she had the same horns which the lamb had in Spirit Blossom, and she was standing on one leg, which is very typical for Kindred. So it wasn't until I saw the blades that I realized that this was actually Irelia. The face gave me no hints at all. So yes, the same face syndrome rose up to the surface again, and it's only the beginning of the year, so I am expecting this issue to rise up once more this year. But you know what's even crazier than that? This is not even the biggest issue that rose up around this skin line. Same faces? Who really cares? It is just a splash art. You'll see it on the loading screen for 60 seconds and you'll never see it again. Unless you look at your portrait in the UI. What really matters for a skin is what it looks like in-game. That's where you will see your money actually being used. So if you are like really die-hard complaining about splash art, You might also be buying all the icons for RP, and you know what? That falls on your head. No, instead, the big issue these skins have are the sound effects. Now, let me just give you a listen. There were so many reports from so many people talking about how they have issue with even hearing anything. That's either because they couldn't tell what's happening or because they became deaf. And you know what? I get that for some of these it makes sense. It is supposed to be a high-profile warning that you are supposed to get out of Miss Fortune's ultimate. But after hearing it, not only am I getting out of that ultimate, I am getting out of that game. And we got some reports that things got especially bad for people who have some form of hearing impairment. If you have sensitive ears, the game is actually unplayable. Now, Riot does have some systems in League which dynamically changes the volume of spells, so that if a teamfight happens, your ears don't get automatically blown out. The system should pick up what are the most important spells and bring them up. But you know what that means? If you are playing a champion with a high priority ultimate that also has this skin, and this issue is somehow spread across literally every skin in the skin line. And that's because for the sound effects they are using the high frequency ringing of porcelain teacups, sprinkled with a little bit of low humming magic. Now if you isolate it, it sounds amazing. There is some serious sound engineering that went into this, but it is just unfortunate that you'll have to listen to this all game. So yes, that is the big funny thing that is currently crippling the newest skin line, and we'll see if Riot decides to do anything about it. Speaking of which, thankfully, there is one more thing which Riot actually fixed with the Porcelain skin line. As I mentioned, last time, Porcelains already had a bit of drama. And I'm not talking about Ezreal getting another legendary skin. It is the fact that all the Kindred mains really hated the fact that Lamb was now a human. Suddenly, it didn't feel like Kindred, and that's why the skin didn't do as well. So now, this year, when it comes to the prestige skin, Kindred got it. And the lamp once again became a lamb. And so now your problems can go away too for the low price of 125 mythic essence.